Welcome to the Practice You podcast. My name is Elena Brower. Let's dive into today's conversation regarding life's myriad transitions and how we refine our responses in our relationships, our wellness, our households, our work, and in our practices. You are invited to learn and love and listen with me. Welcome to Practice You. Welcome back to the podcast. I have with me today a very special new friend. One of the, let's say, 5 poets. If I had to pick 5 books to take with me on a deserted island, this would be one of them. She also happens to be my contemporary. Her name is Rosemerry Trommer. She's a poet, a teacher, a speaker, and a writing facilitator. Her poems have appeared on A Prairie Home Companion, PBS NewsHour, O Magazine, American Life and Poetry, and on stage at Carnegie Hall. In January 2024, she became the first poet laureate forevermore, helping others explore grief, bereavement, wonder, and love through poetry. Rosemerry, welcome to the podcast.
I am so glad to be with you, Elena.
Yeah, I'm going to start with a really funny story. I was in Telluride last fall, October, around my birthday, my 54th birthday, in fact. And I wandered into a store with which I promptly fell in love. The purveyor of the store was somehow on the topic of poetry. I forget, it might have been that we were talking about the pieces that she had in the shop, and some of them have poetry on them. Really beautiful, handcrafted work. I wanted to buy it all. And somehow we got on the subject of you, and she said, "Have you ever heard of this person?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Oh my God, just stop whatever you're doing." She writes a poem every day, and she's done so for the last 16 years, and you need to know her. I said, "Okay." And I started to read your work, and I started to become aware of the fact that you had lost your teenage son at, I'm not sure how many years ago. And I started to really lock in with your heart, your footsteps, the blood flowing through your veins. I started to feel you, and I had to know you. And now I'm holding this book called The Unfolding, which is a book of your poems that came out quite recently. And I would like to read some and have you read some and talk to you about them and talk to you about your kid and your daughter as well, who's still amazing and around. And I just want to know you a little bit more. And this is my selfish way of getting to do that. So thank you for being here.
It is my great joy to get to know you more. So
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Can you tell us, just to start, so we can kind of move into and through it? I would love to understand a little more about what happened with your son, if you're willing to talk about it. And if not, we can definitely move on.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I am. I like talking about him. Not that it's always easy, but I'm always grateful to stay connected with his life, which is always here. Finn was born on September 11th of 2004. And I think it's fair to say he was never easy in his body. You know, he came into the world and he cried. Elena, that whole first year, he cried and cried. And, you know, not just in the afternoons like some babies, but, you know, he'd wake up and cry. And he was clearly in pain and no one could help. You know, we took him to so many doctors. And after about a year, he eased. But he was always intense. And I think worth saying that his first word was shadow, not mama, not, you know, cat, but shadow, a 2-syllable abstract word that just seems to me to say something about how he moved through the world. He did bring, I think, into almost every day an enormous amount of light. I think because he had to. You know, I think that somehow he was already aware as a young child of just how difficult the world was. He was extremely empathic, and he showed up in the biggest, brightest way he knew how. He was a genius in his body. He did tap dance and hip hop and ballet, and he was a skier. He did backflips on the mountain. He was a genius in his mind. He built computers and he made them beautiful, and he won the science fair and the invention fair, and he just one of these kids who was fun and funny and always hurting. And so it was not a surprise to me. He had been talking about wanting to take his life since he was in 6th grade. So we, of course, had done many things and talked to many people and gotten all kinds of help. And then on August 15th, is that true? Isn't that 14th? August 14th of 2021, he took his life. And that changed everything, of course, in my life, my daughter's life, my husband's life. It's been a moment that everything after it refers almost back to that moment. It's actually kind of funny to me now that I could forget that date, like the 14th, the 15th. I guess the day itself was not so important, but the act and what happened on it, this choice that he made and the horror of it and all of the love that has come through also. It's changed everything.
Wow. He was 19 when he did that.
He was actually 16. He would have been 17 2 days or 2 weeks later. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. I assume that he's around.
Oh, a friend in every way. One thing that's interesting for me, 3.5, almost 4 years later now, is in the beginning, there were all these kind of signs, like things would happen. And I'd think to myself, did that just happen? What was that? And how was that him? It happened so often. And I think that I would get attached to those moments like, oh, there he is. There he is. And then I had one moment, Elena, a very quiet moment where I was lying there and I was just kind of reaching out and wondering, are you here? Are you here? With some expectation for something to happen. And then I felt the quietest, subtlest knocking in my own chest, right? Like a little knock inside my heart. And not a voice, but kind of a voice that said, not out there, Mama. In here. In here.
Wow.
And it was so perfect, I'll tell you, because I didn't need to look out anymore I think I had been, in a way, kind of depending on these little signs. And I was like, oh, right, always right here, that close as my own flesh, as close as my own breath, that close, never physically present and always completely present.
Yeah. Wow. I'm looking at page 22 of The Unfolding, which I dog-eared, I guess, when I first got it. I dog-eared about 6 or 7 of the pages to flag for the dream of a podcast with you, which is now coming true in real time. In my heart today, a river of love for you. Oh, I can barely get through it. Girl. Ah. Sparkling, clear, easy to wade in. Some may not understand why I sometimes reach down to pick up a smooth stone of sorrow. Not because I've stumbled on it, but because I want to know its weight again. I search beneath the glossy currents, and always I find what I seek. There are thousands of such stones, enough to cover the whole riverbed. Each one of them precious, every one of them a memory of how it was to love you when you were alive. Stone of you waking up in your crib, pointing to light. Stone of you doing tricks on your bike. Stone of hiking up cliffs. Stone of dishes undone. Stone of your eyes. Stone of long fingers. Stone of you whistling across the room. The river of love is no less powerful for all this sorrow. When I am still, often I choose to go wading there. I notice how beautiful they are, all those stones, worn as they are by the currents of love. I notice how the current never stops. I have an 18-year-old boy. And I actually thought, do I have any right to do this interview? somehow mine is still here. Like, I really had that thought, Rosemerry, and I just want you to know how fucking sorry I am and how proud I am of you as my sort of sister up north doing it and showing us what it means. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And blessings on your beautiful 18-year-old boy.
Thank you.
You know, I think one thing maybe that's lucky, Elena, I do not resent anyone else having their child. It's not ever hard for me to be so glad for every other mother whose children are here and alive and struggling and loving and all that we do when we're humans, right? And I would not choose this, right? Like I would never choose his death. One of the most powerful, poems that has saved me over and over, this beautiful poem by Gregory Orr, not to make loss beautiful, but to make loss the place where beauty starts, where the heart understands for the first time the nature of its journey. So I would never choose the path that happened. Yet now that it's happened, like the title of this poem, I would never choose to not meet it completely, right? Of course it's sorrow, right? Of course. And so the fact to go wade in that river of sorrow again and again and remember this is what it was like when you were here, right? How wonderful it was, how difficult it was, and all of this, what a gift it was to be Finn Trommer's mother. And what a loss it is for him to not be physically here. And all the beauty of the love that continues to grow. I did not know this. The love that continues to grow after a person has died, that is a possibility when we continue to show up to meet them, right? When we continue to speak to them, when we think about I light candles often for him and invite him into my life now, which is so different, than it was when he was here.
I do that for my mom too, actually. And my relationship with her, we'd cleared everything somehow before she died, kind of unexpectedly. But our relationship has gotten so good now that she's gone, like so full and so delicious.
There is such an intimacy possible. That is true. It's true.
So I know what you're saying, which actually leads me to page 47 in the unfolding perspective. This has held me a few times in the last few months since I got this book. Perspective. And the mountains rose and eroded completely. And the great sea flooded all, and the great sea left. And the great sea flooded and left again, and the land was forced up and then pulled from both sides until the center broke and slid down to create a great rift. And the volcanoes spewed lava, and the ash covered all. And the glaciers scrubbed, and the rocks avalanched, and the earth slumped. And today I sit in the valley and stare at the mountain with a dusting of white on its wide shoulders, light gathering in its clefts, and I think, my God, isn't it peaceful?
Oh, the paradox. Right? Oh, the paradox.
The paradox that you just put eons, epochs, kalpas into a handful of lines, 2 handfuls of lines. Wow.
And all that upheaval, right? And we sit there and we look at it and we think, oh, isn't it peaceful? And what it took to get there, right? It took just all those thousands of years to become this calm place. But it wasn't that way, was it?
Yeah. I want to offer to our listener that on the facing page 48, there's a poem called Letter to Vincent about that afternoon that broke me completely. I had to put the book down and I couldn't pick it up for a few weeks. I'm not going to read it here because I've already wept my eyes out and ugly cried. But I am going to move to page 59. But listener, get the unfolding. I promise you, if you have any grief or impending grief or latent grief that you haven't managed yet, just get this book. I promise you, it's one of the best poetry collections, and it spans past grief, but it, really helps you I promise you, for the third time, it will help you to feel your grief as your own and hold it as holy as it is. This one's called, page 59, In Times of Great Darkness. I want to do for you what the sun does for me. Coax you to come outside, to breathe in the golden air. I want to warm you and enter you, fill you with brilliance, make your muscles melt, make your mind shush. I want to prepare for you luminous paths that span across deep space, thaw any part of you that feels frozen, find any cracks and slip shine into them. I want to intensify your shadow, so you might better know my own shape. I want to encourage you to open wider, wider. Want to teach you to write your own name in light.
Yeah, it's such an interesting relationship we have with darkness, with light.
Yeah, I thought it would be interesting to go into that a little bit.
One thing that strikes me, I used to be terrified of the dark, not just the literal dark, but also metaphorical darkness, and spent quite a lot of time, Elena, thinking really of my 20s and 30s, trying to not go where it was difficult and to turn only toward what was beautiful and light. And it took, kind of another kind of very difficult period of my life for me to think, oh, wow, I really need to. This is actually an enormous part of my humanity, to turn toward what is most difficult to meet. And then, luckily, I had read many times, but had never understood Rainer Maria Rilke's poem, You, Darkness, that I come from. I love you more than all the fires, the fence in the world. The poem goes on, but I remember when I first read that poem thinking, I don't get that. And then to be able to recite that poem again and again, it became an invitation. It became a pathway, a doorway, I think, into, oh, this is what's possible. Not just what's most difficult is what we find in the dark, but also what is most mysterious, what is most fecund, what is most nourishing. And I think that that cultivating that relationship then, I suppose starting around my 40s probably is when I started really falling in love with the dark. So then in thinking about this poem, right, about how do we, as I say, I want to intensify your shadow so you might better know your own shape. What does the darkness have to teach you? What is your darkness? What does your shadow have to teach you about who you are? And then how do we find in that darkness, how do we also find the lightness? How do we write our own names in light so that we understand our own luminosity, our own brilliance, our own essential shine?
It makes me think of all the times I was ever jealous as a kid or as a teenager, mostly because I was such a dork, hopeless, especially in sort of middle school, 6th, 7th, 8th grade. And the jealousy that I would feel. And I would think, oh my God, I'm the worst person. We're not supposed to feel envy, And it was just this little tiny girl wanting to fit in. And whenever I feel it now, it dawns on me that that is just an earnest desire for connection, friendship. This is basic, something very basic, but I am tying these things together in a way that feels perhaps maybe of service to our listener.
Do you know, it's sweet that you brought it up this way too, this little envy. I was just writing a poem about this a couple days ago in which I went back and remembered a moment when my brother, it was funny, he was wearing packaging on his head. It was this white packaging, and he looked like George Washington. And my mom was laughing, and she went to take a picture of him, which was not something we did very often. She was going to take his picture, and I was so jealous that she was going to take his picture. And so the picture that we have is of my brother with his George Washington paper hair and my hand flying up into the middle of the picture as if to say, please look at me. Don't just look at him, look at me. Believe me, I got looked at plenty. There was no lack of acknowledging me in our family. But it's like what you're saying, this sweet little, this very human impulse to oh, I want to be seen too. I want to be connected to, I want to make you laugh. And just in the poem that I wrote about this, I was like, oh, I was able to find so much compassion for that little girl who just couldn't stand to have her brother be the center of attention in that moment. Oh, sweetheart, and it's easy now. It's easy to laugh at that and be tender with that moment of, oh, yeah, of course you wanted to be seen. Of course you wanted to connect.
Yeah. So sweet. I watched your YouTube talk on changing metaphors. I really found it profound, in a partnership with a guy who is a metaphor brilliant genius. So we both really appreciated it. And it brings me to page 76 of tenderness. It goes like this. Actually, would you like to read this one? Do you have the book in front of you?
Yeah, you bet. Do you know what I love is that you've chosen some poems that I don't often read. So it's really fun to have them be the ones that are coming through.
How cool. I mean, these are really meaningful to me, these ones that I've picked out. I've read them over and over and over again.
Oh, thank you. It makes me so happy.
Yeah.
This is of tenderness. So easily, the thin rind pulls away from the clementine to reveal what is tender, what is sweet. It matters, I think, the way we offer ourselves to each other. I think of how it falls open, the peel of the clementine. I think of how sometimes when I ask, how are you? You too fall open and give me everything. What a gift when I don't need to pry. What a gift, the bright scent of conversation, how the tang of it lingers in the air. I long to open for you this way, too. Trust begins here.
Such a delicious metaphor and such an important message we forget so often. And I see this playing out on the world stage, and I see it playing out in my own heart. We don't trust ourselves, and we begin to suspect everything and everyone.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. We hide in that rind, right? We hide in the rind of self. When I realize, Elena, just how valuable I think vulnerability is. I think it's one of my highest values. And am I able to be open with you? Am I able to bring down my masks, bring down my walls, to be generous with the essence of me? Who are the people that I know who are able to do that with me too? The beauty that is possible, then the fragrance of that trust. It's intoxicating. It's everything. It is how I believe this. It is how we begin to connect with the people who we think it's going to be the least likely we can connect with, right? How do we move past what those, I'm not even going to just say they're the surface differences, because they go quite deep, some of these differences. But I do believe that when we can meet each other with this openness, right? With this sense of, I have peeled away the parts of me that would protect me from you, and I'm going to show up now and trust that you aren't going to hurt me. This is the way we begin to build real relationship, real trust with each other.
And also, really taking the time to just see and be and listen and then reflect. It seems so basic, but I'm learning in one of the volunteer placements that I'm in, facilitating grief groups for kids and parents, all kinds of things, from deportation to death to sickness, all means of things and all ages of kids. And it's just a wow. Every time there's something different happening. And the seeing of somebody requires nothing of me. Nothing. I sat with a 14-year-old gal the other day. They lost the secretary of the school, and the secretary of the school just happened to be this 14-year-old gal's lifeline. She'd walk into school, and the secretary would, check in with her. How are you doing? Oh, I can see you're not feeling well today. Do you want a sip of my coffee? And she died. She was quite sick, but nobody at the school knew it, and she died. And all I had to do was sit near this child, and she opened up like a flower. And she started playing me music, her sad songs that she listens to. She started writing a letter to the secretary. She started writing a card to the secretary's 2 first graders who were left behind. I mean, it just all happened. I did not need to move. So to your point.
Yeah, just offering her your presence, your willingness to see her, to let her be however she was. I do think what a gift that is when we're able to do this with and for each other.
Yeah. So the last 2, 87 and 88. I would love to read 87, and then perhaps you would like to read 88 if that's cool.
Yeah.
Cool. This one's called Meadow. And listener, dear, dear, dear listener, this one's for you today. Meadow. Walking through tall grass on a narrow path, my fingers spread wide to pull through the seed heads, as if to touch is to be touched. As if with open palms I could pull this beauty inside me and carry it with me until I give it to you. As if I could somehow slip a whole meadow into your pocket so you could unfold it any time and wander through grass as high as your chest and feel how the vastness reminds us who we are. Dang, sister. Wow.
Well, you just gave me that meadow right back. So that was that was lovely.
I have it also in my chest. It's so vast that we both are carrying it right now, and maybe even our listeners too.
I remember so well when I was walking through the meadow that inspired this poem. And it's up here. I live in Southwest Colorado, and this particular meadow is kind of above Woods Lake on a mesa that's not too far from me. And there it was, this just gorgeous, gorgeous meadow, and the sun was warm and the grass was tall. And you know that feeling when you're just pulling your fingers through it. And it just felt so utterly as if I was everything and everything was me. It was that vastness, that belonging, that, as much as sometimes we feel separate, and we can feel so separate. And truly, I think in many ways we are separate. In that moment, I could not have been more in communion with everything. And it was all. It was all. It was everything.
Yeah.
And then the thrill of sharing that everything.
Right. The getting to the meadow and the hard walk up, and then the getting onto the meadow and the big, beautiful sky. I just felt that with this piece. I really appreciated your walking us into the meadow with you. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you're welcome. I mean, and the irony is I was alone, right? I mean, I was all alone in this meadow, but being alone was somehow part of being not alone, Howard the paradox.
Of course. And the last piece that I thought we would share with our listener is page 88, when it looks as if I'm talking to myself. And I think I would add that this is for you if you also are forging, or maybe are thinking about forging, or have forged a relationship with someone who's passed on to the other side of the mountain, as it were, who's died, and take refuge in this piece as Rosemerry reads it.
When it looks as if I am talking to myself, I'm talking to the dead. Oh, look at the bunny, I say to the empty kitchen. I didn't know I would be the kind of woman who talks to the dead, who narrates the day, who believes they hear me after midnight when I whisper, I miss you. I say, I love you as I walk in the spruce and falling snow, say, isn't it beautiful, into the crystalline air? And the scene is more beautiful for the sharing. When I am alone, I am always talking to the dead about what it's like to be here in their absence. How strangely wondrous life can be after a loss. I feel their presence in the listening, feel how the listening wraps its tender arms around me. Feel how gently the listening leans in to cradle my face with silence.
I can't thank you enough for being here with me today, Rosemerry, and for all the work that you do. And I want to share with our listener where your work is. And there are a few places, if I may.
Yes, please.
Your daily blog is called 100 Falling Veils. And it's at 100fallingveils.com, spelled out AHUND and so forth, 100fallingveils.com. That is the one that I receive every day. It is always a blessing. One poem that Rosemerry writes, original every single day.
Every day.
Unbelievable. There's an app for your phone called The Poetic Path. And I will make sure that you have all of these links below this podcast in the notes, dear listener, so don't worry.
Yeah, I'll just say real quick, the app itself is called Ritual, but the Poetic Path is a program on the app. So
yeah, I've actually explored it. Super beautiful. I wish I could do it, but I have a contract for another website, so I couldn't entertain it. But Alex L. is on there as well, listener. I know you love her, and she's been on the podcast too, as are some other really incredible luminaries, and worth considering if you would like to go to that app. Again, I'll include the link here. You have a podcast on the creative process called Emerging Form, and that is on Substack. Oh, I didn't know you were on Substack, emergingform.substack.com. I will be there with you shortly. Your newest book, of course, is the one from which we've been reading. It's called The Unfolding. I will include the bookshop link here. And books and readings are all included in your daily blog. So if you are in the area, or if you would like to get to know Rosemerry a little more, you can actually get her daily blog. And then she includes notes about upcoming events in the blog at the bottom. So that's a really convenient way to get to know. And I thought I would really close with this one piece. There are two pieces that I take with me into all of my sits. I'm a Zen Buddhist chaplaincy candidate. So I'm doing a lot of sitting for the last 5 years or so. And still to this day, I'm considering postulancy, but I'm not sure yet this is the time for that. And so I'm sitting a lot. And there are two pieces. One is, they're both really short. It goes like this. It's actually printed, cut out, and sitting on my altar at my desk underneath a picture of me when I was 6. Pigtails, glasses, hugging a tree. Every breath, a sanctuary I carry with me. Every breath, a sanctuary I carry with me. That's the first one, and I cannot thank you enough for that, because it gets me through the longer days where there are 8 one-hour sits. I really thank you. The second one is called One Way Through, and this was more recent, and it really speaks to my understanding of Zen and the way that I've sort of held it in my heart. It's called One Way Through. Like a sentry at the gate of forever. This moment. Like a sentry at the gate of forever. This moment.
It's a delight to hear you read them. Thank you.
It's a delight, a dream truly come true to have you here with us. And it's really an honor to know you. You've inspired me in more ways than I can name. I'm going to send you a copy of the book that's coming out in the fall, because I want you to see it. I think you'll enjoy it. Yeah, it's not poetry, but it's close. It has a poetic lilt to it. And I just thank you so much. And I will be sure to get in touch when I'm in the area. And if you're around, I would love to take you to a nice meal.
Oh, I'd love to meet you. It'd be wonderful to wrap my arms around you in person.
Same. And also, dear listener, do check out Rosemerry's YouTube TED Talk, beautiful TEDx talk, Paeonia, called Changing Metaphors. And really beautiful. I can't get over your capacity for not just poetry and spoken word, but also performance. And then there's like moments where you're singing in this talk, and I'm just like, what is this human? How did this happen? Wow. It's just incredible. It's well worth watching. And And just thank you for your time today, Rosemerry.
Thank you. Thank you, Elena. Thank you, listeners.
Yes, thank you so much.